We also want to state that the progress of the joint EAC SADC summit outcomes by the appointment, and this is something that we will finalize, but there were proposals, if you remember, that we broaden the panel of facilitators, because it has largely been Uhuru alone. And there were proposals that this be broadened. Certain names did come up, which we will discuss briefly in the closed session. SADC is also of the view that they would wish to add one more name to that panel. So I think I'll leave that to the closed session for a short conversation. We also want to recognize that the international community, including the United Nations Security Council, have been voicing support for this joint SADC EAC summit that was held on 8th of February. And also lending support to the harmonization or merging of the Nairobi and Luanda processes, so that we have a more coherent position where the sight of all issues. We wish to underscore that a military solution is not the way out to this conflict, and we need to work and embrace inclusive dialogue involving all stakeholders, and this should be pursued so that we find a lasting solution to the conflict. I wish to also bring to the notice of the ministers that Kenya continues to engage various stakeholders in the crisis as a means to opening opportunities for dialogue by all the parties to the conflict. And I wish to point out that not too long ago, His Excellency President William Ruto, in his capacity as the chairperson of the East African Community Summit, met with a high-level delegation from President Felix Tshisekedi, led by a member of Parliament and former Deputy Prime Minister Lambert Mende, as well as a delegation from the National Episcopal Conference of Congo and the Church of Christ in Congo to deliberate on the security situation in DRC. Once again, I want to really re-emphasize that the humanitarian situation in Goma and Bukavu has displaced many people, and they face grim conditions within the limited access of basic necessities, including food, water, shelter, and healthcare, due to main supply routes being cut off and the closure of the Goma and Kavumu International Airport and other major road supplies routes. However, we also want to commend efforts by UNICEF, which has been able to reach about 364,000 children and giving them support for clean water and sanitation. Once again, the President of Kenya has emphasized that Kenya is willing to work with the regional partners and the international community to offer humanitarian support to alleviate the suffering of the displaced civilians in the affected localities, while underlying the urgency of opening humanitarian corridors to facilitate the delivery of aid to the affected regions. We also emphasize the importance of having the member states of both the East African Community and SADC committing the financial resources required for the implementation of the roadmap activities for supporting peace and security and stability in the Eastern DRC. Kenya will continue working closely with neighboring countries, regional blocs, and the international community in finding a lasting solution to the ongoing conflict in Eastern DRC for the prosperity and welfare of the Congolese nationals in the affected regions. Even as ministers, as the ministers received the report of the Chiefs of Defense Forces, we wish to draw the attention to the important issue of finalizing the task of forming the panel of facilitators. We should not spend too much time debating names. The situation is dire. We need to overcome this as ministers, and our heads of state are actually waiting for our recommendations. We can't keep on kicking the can down the road. We need to make some recommendations and have them to move forward to the next stage. So I would just say that please apply yourselves to this particular issue, and it is important that when we get to Harare, we can conclude on this matter, and the recommendations can go to the heads of state. This is important because we also want the support of the African Union on this matter, so that they can support through the Peace Fund the initiatives that are being undertaken. Finally, I think we should also apply ourselves to the fact that the Joint Secretariat, EAC and SADC, should be supported so that they crystallize on a technical team that will drive this process jointly. We should not leave it hanging so that it's not ping pong. I think as ministers, it will be important for us to ensure that when we leave Harare, we are now very clear on the joint technical team of the secretariats, so that they move with this thing of ensuring that we are on track in the peace process. So with these remarks, I hope in a small way I've just opened up matters for thought as we discuss before and also while we receive the report of the Chiefs of Defense Forces. Once again, I want to thank you, ministers, and your delegations for being available at very short notice. First, let me take this opportunity on behalf of President William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, who is also the chair of the East African Community Summit, to express his appreciation for your being available so that we can have a very brief consultation today. This meeting is important because, as you are aware, the joint ministerial session, which was recommended on the 8th of February in Dar es Salaam, will take place in Harare on the 16th and 17th. 16th, which is tomorrow, largely at the technical level, and 17th at the ministerial segment. Thereafter, our deliberations will form the basis of a report that will go to the heads of state of the EAC SADC joint session. I just want to maybe put the situation in perspective. One, we all want to recognize that the situation in DRC is dire, Eastern DRC. And so far, it's estimated that there are over 7,000 civilian fatalities, and so far about 700,000 persons have been displaced. and this has led to a very serious humanitarian crisis in DRC, Eastern DRC. We also need to acknowledge that the continued fighting in Eastern DRC has the potential of spilling over into the neighboring countries and destabilizing the entire Great Lakes region and turning into a wider regional war if not addressed urgently. We note that the M23 occupation in southern Kivu has resulted in mass displacement of approximately 40,000 Congolese nationals fleeing to Burundi for refuge.
Distinguished ministers, allow me to call the meeting to order. Meeting is singular. Presentation of the report of the...
Okay, thank you. All right, so, and also our colleagues from the defense ministry.
Seconded.
Yes.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation of the Republic of
Minister of Foreign Affairs who could not make it to be